Hey everybody, I hope you're having a great day. Just going to do a short video looking at dimple dyes. There's a couple of different ways to dimple dye. This may be totally played out on YouTube. I've seen a lot of different people post videos about how to dimple dye and how they work. So there's, before I forget, hey Brody, what's up, man? I had to say that. So anyway, on my car, I cut some holes in the inner fender wells and I dimple dyed them on that side and on this side too. And my thoughts on them were just to circulate a little bit of air, but to not let a bunch of crap off the tires. Hopefully it won't let a bunch of crap off the tires come up through those holes. We'll see. If you look, I dimple dyed them in and not out. So maybe it'll still provide some protection. Don't think I'm going to be driving this in the rain much, snow much. This is a panel that I made, and these are dimple dyes. And there's really cool things you can do with dimple dyes. A lot of guys make brackets and they dimple dye them. They make structural pieces and they dimple dye them. I was thinking at one time, because I saw Carl Fisher from Make It Custom, he made a structural piece of steel in the back of his car, like that piece that's right there in the middle. And it was so cool. And he just made it out of a couple of pieces of steel and curved it and dimple dyed it. And it came out really cool. So I was actually thinking at one time about doing that. Don't know that I will, because in my car, you won't ever see it. So back over here to my bench, and we'll see if we can't get oriented here without me losing the video. So there's a couple different ways you can dimple dye things. This first one, this is a cut and dye. So this one has a little cutting head on it, and it also has the dimple dye in it, where after it cuts, it squeezes these two clamshell halves together and it dimples the metal. So that's how this one works. And then this is a traditional dimple dye. And all you do with this is you cut a hole. This is a 3/4, I believe, 3/4. And you just cut a 3/4 hole and you take the dimple dye, stick it through there, put this top on it, and then you squeeze it in a press or a vise. I've never tried it in my vise. That'd be interesting. I do have a press. I'll grab it out and throw it up here on the bench. It's just a small Harbor Freight one. So that's the 3/4. So this here is the one that cuts. So this is a 3-inch. So all I did is I had to just drill a hole big enough for my bolt, right? Just get that bolt to go through there. Take this, screw it all the way down on top of it. And then, you know, again, it's the same principle as using a knockout driver. This does the same thing. The knockout drivers just don't have the dimpling on the outside edges, but they do the same exact thing. So all you do is take this thing. Once you find a battery, you take it and snug the bolt through there, and then take this thing and just dimple it out. how loud that was for you guys, but pretty loud for me. And again, this is sheet metal. This is thin. This is 22 gauge sheet metal. So, you know, when you use these tools on thin sheet metal, it's gonna distort. There's no real way to get around the distortion on thin sheet metal. That one didn't even cut it. So, probably why it didn't cut it is because I didn't put any oil on it. Normally they tell you to go ahead and put a little bit of oil around where the cut is going and even on the die. So you could just take and wipe a little bit of oil. I just have a bottle, I think that's 0.50 or something like that. And you know, you can wipe this thing with oil. Sometimes that'll keep it from cutting. Sometimes with, you know, dry metal and that it can keep it from cutting. So again, let's try it. See if I can get it to cut the rest of the way through. So I'll give it another shot here. See how this video is gonna go. I can tell already. So let's see how close I am. Yeah, looks like it should have cut it. Let's pop it off and see. Pop this thing out, see if it cut. Yeah, that's a little warm. No, it did not cut it. It's weird. That's weird that it doesn't want to cut it. I wonder if this thing is just getting dull. I've probably used it just enough to where I should probably take a file and just sharpen the edges up. But you get the idea. This is what it does. It's supposed to cut all the way through, okay? It's supposed to cut all the way through this. I'm not supposed to have to rip this piece out. Although this is not by any means an expensive punch knockout die. On a piece of sheet metal, you know, that's thin gauge sheet metal and just, you know, a little piece, you're probably going to have to use a traditional dimple die. So give me a second and I will move some things around here and I'll throw my press. I have a small Harbor Freight press. I'll throw it up here on my bench and I'll show you how the traditional die works. Okay, I'm back. So, like I said, this is the Harbor Freight. This is a 6-ton, and it's just the bench top press. I'm trying to figure out if I got everything set up right so you guys can even see what I'm doing here. So, this is the Harbor Freight 6-ton. And I just throw it up here when I need to press something out. It's good for bearings. As you can see, I've pressed enough that I've actually bent my piece of angle. This is just a little piece of channel that I had, a scrap. I don't know what I got it off of. It came off of something. I remember cutting it down. Already had holes drilled in it. Can't remember exactly what it was for. But anyway, moving right along. So if you take this and you take the male and you take the female part of the die, and you just put it through the hole that you drilled. Like I said, you have to drill a hole big enough so that you can get the die to go through the hole. So once you do that, okay, so once you put this together and put this die through, all you do is you take this and you slip it in here in your press, and then you just go ahead and you press it. And it doesn't take much, especially with this, especially as thin as this stuff is. These regular dies or traditional dimple die is probably a whole heck of a lot better than like a cut and die that's going to really deform your metal, because this one doesn't. And as soon as you drill your hole and put your die in there, And there's your dimple. So, I mean, it's comes out nice, dimples it really nice, doesn't really do anything, doesn't distort the metal. All you have to do is you just have to have a drill bit big enough for the size dimple that you're making. And I mean, that seems easy, seems really easy until you get up to, you know, dimple dies like this. So I believe this is 1 3/4 inch, and I do actually have a 2 inch. So this is a 2 inch. And so it'll do the same exact thing, but you have to cut a 2 inch hole. You have to be able to, you know, you use a hole saw or something like that just to cut a 2 inch hole wherever you want. The only problem is that you can't really take something like this and bring it over to your car and, you know, cut holes in your car. So, you know, there are advantages to both types. If you're making patch panels, or, you know, you're making like the panel that I showed you on the front of my car. In fact, I have another one that I made that's just kind of hanging up here as wall art. The spacing was just a little bit different on it, and I was just kind of playing around with it. So I had made that one, and then I kind of wanted to make another one and use different size holes. So the holes in this one here are a little bit different. But, you know, there's just a lot of stuff you can do. You can take a flat piece of steel, you can dimple die it and make a bracket, or, you know, anything that you really want. You know, it's, your imagination is kind of the limit. But the punch and dies are definitely the tool to use if you're going to do something on your car, little thicker metal. Like I said, I punched 6 holes through my inner fender wells, and that's probably why that doesn't really want to cut. Doesn't want to cut this thin sheet metal. I didn't really have any problems cutting the holes through my inner fender wells. I think one of them I did have to actually take the piece of metal and just kind of bend it back and forth and take it out. But for the most part, it did what I wanted it to do. And I kind of measured and figured, hey, I want a 3 inch. I know there are some really good ones out there, but I believe Woodward Fab, I want to say. I think Woodward Fab makes a set, and they're just too expensive. They're really expensive for me. And, you know, I wanted to do these holes in this inner fender well, and I knew that I wanted 3 inch. So I just got on the internet and just ordered a Amazon, I think it was Amazon or eBay. I just ordered the 3 inch because I knew that's what I wanted it for, and all I really wanted to do is just cut 6 holes. So anyhow, that's all there is to it. One good looking dimple die and one not so good looking die. Thanks, you guys have a great day. If you could, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you like the video, give me a like. And if you don't like it, don't give me a like. If you want to comment, I'm always open to comments. I like looking at comments and, you know, what people have to say and how people think, because it really opens up your mind when you look at how differently people think about things than you do. So thanks. I hope everybody has a great day.